On a wet road outside Fengdu, before the widow beside me spoke the name, the stalks knocked together in the dark, like chopsticks against an empty bowl. Then she said, "Meng Po," and pinched out the lamp with her fingers. I walked the Sichuan road in late autumn, when the river mists dragged low over the stones, and the ferry ropes smelled of wet hemp. Above Fengdu, shrine smoke clung to the cliff paths. Below, the Yangtze moved black and slow, carrying leaves and ashes together. Further east, old boatmen near the lower river said her name traveled with flood season. The banks turned to slick clay, reeds hissed in the wind, and temple bells came thin across water after dusk. Those men spat into the current before speaking, then washed their mouths with tea. In the tellings I gathered, she was Meng Po, Lady Meng, Old Mother Meng, sometimes Meng Po Shen, the spirit woman of forgetting. Meng meant dream to one scholar who corrected me by lamplight. Though another said it carried dimness, confusion, sleep, no one agreed for long. In Jiangnan towns, women at the washing steps called her the granny of the last bowl. In a Hubei monastery, a novice used an older phrase, the woman who serves oblivion before rebirth. Along merchant roads, her place mattered more than her name. Naihe Bridge remained fixed in every tongue. The first full account reached me in the 7th month of 1871, from a paper seller in Fengdu. His mother had been dying 3 days. Rain dripped through broken eaves. At midnight she opened her eyes, stared past the bed curtains, and asked why an old woman was waiting by the doorway with steam. The son told me the room smelled suddenly of burnt herbs and millet porridge, though the brazier had gone cold hours before. His mother lifted both hands as if receiving a bowl. Her fingers trembled in the blanket light. Then she began naming the dead in the wrong order. First she called for her elder sister, gone 30 years. Then for a child buried after one winter. Then she asked who the paper seller was, though he knelt at her bedside with tears on his sleeves. Outside the rain stopped. Even the roof drips seemed to listen. She knew no one in the room. She drank only water, refused broth, and kept her mouth turned from the family altar. Before noon, she died with a calm face. The son slept badly for 9 years, he said, and could never bear the smell of millet again. After that telling, I heard the same pattern from ferrymen, monks, grave sweepers, and women who washed the bodies of kin. The signs began with ordinary things altered slightly. Steam where no fire burned. A sweet grain smell. A draft against the paper door, though the latch was fast. Some said Meng Po appeared bent like a washerwoman, grey hair pinned with a thorn twig, carrying a ladle blackened by long use. Others saw only sleeves and a bowl. No one described bright eyes or terrible fangs. The fear lived in her plainness. She looked like work not yet finished. The taboo came after sunset. In several river towns, families would not speak the names of the newly dead while broth simmered on the stove. Bowls were turned upside down, lids stayed shut. Grandmothers said steam could carry a name farther than grease meant it to travel. At one ancestral hall near Zhongshan, I watched a widow place a dry spoon across an empty rice bowl beside her husband's tablet. She told me the spoon barred the path of forgetting for one night only. Cedar smoke from the incense stung my nose. Her hands did not shake. Caravan men shifted the place from bridge to mountain pass. They said a hut of mud brick stood between two white cliffs where the dead rested before descending further. Meng Po there brewed from snowmelt and bitter roots. The bowl tasted cold enough to ache in the teeth. A Hunan telling changed her temper. There she was patient and almost tender, urging souls to drink so old hatreds would not bleed into the next household. Yet one fisherman's wife swore tenderness was the worst part. She said a kind voice could loosen memory faster than threat. Near Suzhou, a bookseller showed me a painted scroll copy where Meng Po sat beside the 10 kings' courts. In that version, the broth held the colors of the 5 flavors. An old nun laughed softly and said painters always added too much. The oldest written trace I found came through underworld compilations linked to late imperial religious texts, where the bridge of helplessness and the soup before rebirth were already joined. In a temple library, the paper smelled of dust and lamp oil. The characters for Meng Po had been retraced by careful hands. A monk also pointed me toward older layers in Chinese ghost lore, gathered under the long shadow of texts like So Shenji. Though her full figure was not settled there, I learned to listen for what witnesses could not keep steady. Many forgot her face in the middle of describing it. Many remembered the bowl exactly. The rim was chipped. The steam moved sideways. The hand that offered it was small, work-worn, almost human. I set the lantern down here with one question.